Hello, kind people. This is Dmitry, and this is my weekly recap of The Listener. This time I am recording this from the grounds of St. Clement's Church in Sandwich, so apologies for the background noise and the wobbly, uh, the wobbly picture. I think I'll still try to do it here unless the wind just completely destroys the sound quality. So this Listener is by Bell. And Bell is, I think, is the second puzzle by Bell. I solved the Magpie by Bell last year, and that's when I learned that that this pseudonym Bell is a collaboration between two very famous setters, Saber and Chalicia, and they are famous for something completely uh, opposite. So Chalicia is famous for easy sort of entry level, elegant A grade in the Magpie Linga puzzles, and Saber is a legendary listener setter, Andrew Bremner, whose first listener came out in the 1970s, so it's more than 55 years now, and uh, 55 years of setting, so uh, yeah, it was an absolute privilege to be in at the listener dinner a couple of years ago in Bristol, where Saber was present and gave a speech, and what a wonderful speech that was. So, uh, and obviously, it is quite interesting, what the level of difficulty is going to be for Bell Puzzle. So, in the one last year in the Magpie, uh, I think the clues were fairly accessible, they were very easy, and the end game was very challenging. So, let's have a look at this one. So for this one, let's read the preamble. It's called All Four Race, and the preamble is quite short. The answers to 21 normal clues must be entered in the grid in one of the three thematic ways, 7 of each. In 18 other clues whose answers are entered normally, one word must be thematically treated, 6 in each of the ways, to enable solving. The remaining 5 clues are normal, with answers entered normally, and then these answers can be jumbled to form a thematic slogan to be tracked down and written below the grid. I'm still not sure why this track down is in the preamble. Hopefully, maybe by the end of this video, I will get it. Numbers in brackets are length of grid entries. So there's a lot of transformations to either clues themselves or the answers. So let's have a look at some of them. And then maybe um, I'll just go all the way to the finished grid and I'll tell you what I think about the puzzle in general. So let's start with one across, because I think that was one of the earlier ones I solved. So, eating place in California is a holiday right, not half. So, here you kind of realize that you have California, you have holiday, and holiday is often fat, and California is often CA, and so you think it might be the word cafeteria. Cafeteria. And then that's 9 letters, and then you need to try and justify that. And then you realize that the wordplay works, so you have California is this CA, and then inside this is a holiday, and then not half, so just one half of the word right, R-I. And so to make this work, we realize that it's not place, it's just eating place. And at the time, you don't really know what's going on. You think, okay, maybe you need to remove an extra letter from this clue. So a word must be treated in one of the three thematic ways. And so possible thematic way here is removing a letter. Turns out to be not the case. So how could we know that this is not the case? But then we realize that the clue has to be treated, and so we can enter this normally, and so we can enter this in the grid like this. And then awareness program is French, I think, is one of those normal clues where EST is both an awareness program and the word is in French. So what else should we look at? Yeah, maybe we should look at this. More functioning Bezier of the towers, we are told. So Bezier of the towers is obviously Bezier faulty, and this is how it's spelled. And of course, sorry, yeah, and of course, this is spelled. Sorry, this sounds. So we are told is a homophone indicator. It sounds like faulty, not working, and we realize now that it is 6 letters, but we have 7 cells for that. Then at some point, either from the crossing letters or you realize that we still need to, at some point while filling the grid, you realize that you need to add an extra letter and you still need to create a real word. So what happens here is this becomes the word faculty. So you do that, and again, like a possible thematic treatment here is just, inserting an extra one.
Morning.
Morning. But again, like this is what I thought at the time, and okay, let's have a look at another one. Here's another one. Greek place stuffing baked celeriac eat tantalized. So Greek place is Attica, and we can see that this is a reverse hidden, and so it is stuffing not the baked celeriac but baked celeriac eat tantalizes. So it stuffs baked phrase celeriac and tantalizes, and so you need to insert C here, and again, a possible interpretation of that is that that you just need to insert an extra letter somewhere. Again, okay, let's have a look at some more. Here's another one of a different type. Coin reserve somewhat oversold. So you might recognize, it's another hidden, you might recognize the verso is, I think it can be a page of a book, but it also could be a reverse of a coin. So here we need to swap 2 letters in the word reserve and get reverse. And it's not clear whether you just need to swap 2 letters or whether you just need to, or whether it's more generic principle and you have to anagram it, and so on. But eventually you would realize while solving this, that there are 3 types of things that are happening. There is an extra letter inserted. They're anagramming, because at some point you realize that this anagramming it's not just swapping 2 letters, it's more dramatic. Like, for example, this is a nice handlet. Names into running. Probably not the first time I see this word queued in this fashion, but names into anagrams to nominates. And so running is an anagram indicator, but then if you name someone into running, you nominate them. So that is an handlet. Oh gosh, if only I could spell now. Nominates. Apologies, I blame the sun that I can't quite see what I'm doing here. But but then when you try to reconcile it with what? So which one is it? That's 27. Okay, well, sorry, we don't have any crossing letters at the moment. But at some point, when you get some crossing letters, you realize that you need to say an M here and N here, and you anagram it to get Minnesota. And so one of the thematic treatments is clearly anagramming, because it's not just swapping letters. The other is inserting a letter. And then at some point you realize that the third one is a homophone. So you need to find, so for example here, it's not removing of the letter I from place, it's actually saying that place, as a fish, is pronounced in exactly the same way as this place. And so, yeah, this is what's going on. And you can basically just, using these principles, fill the grid, but the key thing, and I realized it with about like a third of the grid filled, is that when you look at which extra letters are inserted, for example here or there, you notice that this is always the letter C. And so then I realized that I've heard this slogan more or less like every day, twice a day, where I was traveling on British Railways. There is this slogan which annoys me a lot because it doesn't make much sense, I think. But slogan is seed, said, sorted. And this is how. And it's not sorted, it's sorted. Um, and so now you can realize what's going on. So C, if you look in Chambers, this is like one way of naming the letter C. So you either need to see it, the clue or the answer, and that is insert a C, or you need to say it, and that means you uh, change it to a homophone, or you need to anagram it, and that is sorted. And so basically, this allows you then to fill the grid. It's still not easy, and actually, some of the clues, and especially as a non-native speaker, for me, like homophones are always the clues I kind of dread a little bit, partially because of just how inconsistent English pronunciation is, and partially because they operate like not on the level of individual characters. So yeah, even after this PDM, I struggled to finish the grid, and unfortunately, yeah. So this is what happened for another beautiful puzzle this year. There was one in Magpie by Dimitri, where also, a PDM happened like maybe halfway through, and then it was still a struggle to finish, but I knew that there would be no more rewards for this. I'm not going to get any more. There's no end game apart from this. I already know all the story that the puzzle has to tell. So this is a little bit disappointing, but obviously it's still an amazing construction, and I think whenever I heard this slogan, I thought the thought that someone must have, you know, there must be some use for it because it's such a horrible slogan that, a cryptic crossword out of it is something that did cross my mind, and I'm glad that it materialized, and it materialized in the hands of such uh, brilliant setters as Chalicia and Saber. So, yeah, great construction. The final thought is that, yeah, if for some people, maybe, non-British based solvers, if you get all the way to the end game and then have to reconstruct this slogan just from a 16-letter combination of 16 assorted letters, this is very hard, I think, because it's not obvious, and I'm glad that I didn't have to do that, and I do pity the solvers who had to do it. So anyway, this was the listener for this week. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope the sound was not too horrible here in St. Clements, and see you next week. Bye.